We'll now call to order the City Council meeting of March 8th. I'm going to invite Captain, would you come on up and lead us in the pledge?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jennifer, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Avila? Here. Councilmember Beaver?
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan?
Here.
Mayor Bogue?
Here. All right, so that takes us to an employee introduction. I believe this is it Captain Williams? Come on up.
Good evening. It's my great pleasure to introduce one of our deputies from the police station, Deputy Michaela McKenzie. Michaela grew up in Los Angeles as an only child. Her mother was a Los Angeles police officer, which inspired her to enter into law enforcement. When she graduated from high school at the Drew Medical Magnet High School, and then attended college at the California State University of Los Angeles, where she received her bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She then proceeded to the Columbia Southern University, where she's got 2 master's degrees, one in public administration and another one in business administration. In 2014, she was hired by the Sheriff's Department, worked in our correctional environment there for a couple of years, went out to patrol in 2018 at our Central Patrol Station, which is in the San Bernardino area. And then in November of 20, she transferred to Yucaipa. Michaela's immediate family consists of her mother, her grandmother, and aunt. And some of her hobbies include dancing, although we don't need to demonstrate. Yes, and as anyone who saw her introductory video, she's a big fan of the Marvel universe. Also an animal lover, has 2 dogs, both of which she rescued while out working on patrol. And with that, I'll introduce Deputy Michaela McKenzie.
Hi, I'm Michaela McKenzie, as he said. Sorry. So I wanted to say thank you for having me here. I was very surprised because I came from Central Station and I've never seen city council before. So when my lieutenant was like, you want to do an interview? I talked to him, like, they have that? So I was very surprised, and I'm very happy for you guys to get to know me and have me introduce myself to you.
Well, welcome to Yucaipa, and you have a very impressive resume.
Thank you.
And I'm okay if you dance. If you want to dance. No?
No pressure.
No pressure. All right. We would like to have our picture taken with you, so
Of
if you could come
course.
on down. And
Yes. Okay, here it is over here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so that takes us to public comment. I do have one speaker slip. It is from Scott Ward. Come on up, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, distinguished city staff. I am Scott Ward, Yucaipa resident, and I am your local field representative for San Bernardino County 3rd District Supervisor Dawn Rao. I come here tonight with two things to talk about. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I'd like to encourage anybody in Yucaipa, anybody who may be listening online, to get involved with the Board of Supervisors and the redistricting that is going to take place for San Bernardino County. It was part of a voter-approved measure that voters approved back in November, which will be a decade, something that is undertaken every decade, every 10 years, based on the census numbers. The Board of Supervisors will bring in a citizens commission to examine possibly changing the boundaries of the supervisorial districts based on population trends, any shifts that may take place. Once the board did this on their own, now it's going to be a very transparent process that is done with the help of a redistricting commission. There's a little less than a month to apply to be on this commission. There is a very long website address that goes with this. Anybody in the chamber, if you're interested, please look me up, and I will give you my contact info so I can pass that along. Otherwise, you can remember it as cms.sbcounty.gov/COB. We would really like to have good representation from the 3rd District on the redistricting commission. I'm also here tonight to put in a plug for Yucaipa Community Foundation. This coming Sunday, it is our Pi Day concert. Pi Day, March 14th, 314 Pi, get it? There's also an opportunity for, if you will support Yucaipa Community Foundation, and more specifically, the Yucaipa Rockin' Youth Studio, if you can support them, you can get some delicious pie to go along with it. It's an online concert. We recorded back in January. I served as the MC. The kids with all the talent are performing. These are kids in two groups, Yucaipa Rockin' Youth Studio and Runaway Days. Really fun performances. It's just $10 to buy a ticket. You can get those at yucaipacommunityfoundation.com. Please support the program and support the arts here in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Mr. Ward? Just one question.
Yes, sir.
This would be me. Are elected officials what's the right word?
Allowed to serve on the
Allowed to
redistricting
serve.
commission?
Are
Forgive
they-
me for putting words in your mouth.
That's fine, because I can't. But are we exempt from having to, I can't apply, basically?
There are some restrictions, and there are certain qualifications that redistricting commission members need to meet. And I just talking off the top of my head here, I've got the press release, which I won't actually read here at the dais, but I believe electeds would be prohibited from serving, but I can connect with you after the
I
meeting.
believe so. I just
Yeah.
want to make that sure that we as electeds are not eligible.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
This is kind of a citizens commission, if
You're
you
right.
will.
Thank
So,
you.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks, Scott. Good information. All right, so that takes us to our consent agenda, which is items 1 through 8. Are there any items one wishes to pull for discussion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that takes us to mayor and council member business. Is there anything before we go on to the reports from council? John, do you have anything?
No.
David? Bob?
No.
Okay. All right, so it takes us to item number 9, and I believe this is Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is before you is the annual review of the guidelines as it pertains to the community activity grant. This would be for fiscal year 2021-22. The item before you presents a history of how this grant has progressed over the years and the changes to the guidelines that have been made by council of past. And we also provided an attachment that lists out the CAG awards from 2010 to current, which is on page 117 of your packet. Over the years, council has reviewed and revised these guidelines and is designating funding levels for the upcoming fiscal year as part of the budget process. The current guidelines that are in place are on page 117 and 118 of the packet. There are options that you may want to consider for the next round, which is listed on page 118. Direction provided by you this evening will be implemented for fiscal year 21-22. Staff would also note that due to COVID restrictions, certain recipients of the in-kind and financial CAG awards this past year may not have been able to hold their event or their program as they proposed it last year. These unused grants will not carry over to the next fiscal year, and any financial awards that were granted out will be returned if the program did not take place, and then the application or organization would be able to reapply for 21-22. Since the program or event couldn't happen, obviously they didn't use the grant. So the recommendation is before you is that you review the guidelines and provide direction on the funding levels if you want to continue with the program. Currently, it's $40,000 for in-kind and $17,500 for financial grants. You also would probably like to note on the top of page 117, we do have other organizations listed in there that receive funds, financial funding from the non-department budget that is approved by council every year. So you'll see Family Service Association, Interfaith Council in the past has given staff the direction that they don't want these agencies to have to apply for the competitive CAG grant every year, that the program and services that they provide should be included as part of the budget. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
And if I may, just to clarify, the intent this evening is not to open up those conversations. Those will be part of the budget discussion, perhaps goals and objectives, but tonight it's really about the community activity grant program.
All right, so are there any questions for staff or any suggestions? Are there any changes that, well, I think it's on page 118, there are a few different options. Perhaps some changes we can make to the program. Bob, you have something?
I think we should keep it the way it is at option A.
Okay.
The funding that we have for these programs, do they come out of the general fund?
Yes.
Would council want to consider maybe upping the 17.5 for financial awards based on the number of requests and the amounts, or you're just happy with the 17.5?
Unless someone else wants to go, I personally would just rather stick with the current program. Where are we at when it comes to in-kind? Do we ever bump up to the 40?
In years past, you have come right up to the 40. However, this past year, obviously, no. But in years past, a lot of, pretty much every grant cycle has almost achieved that 40,000 in kind.
Okay. John, do you have anything?
I don't.
We want to just keep it as is?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Justin?
just food for thought as costs goes up. We may, if not this year, maybe at least think about it for next year or the year after that, because it's, after a while, the 5,000 or 3,500 we get, or that we allocate to these may not be enough to support, $3,500 just doesn't go as far as it used to.
Right, right. Perhaps once we get past this whole COVID situation, that we can relook at it?
And just food for thought.
Okay,
I'll support option A.
okay. Justin,
Yeah, I agree. Option A.
you're good? All right, so you have a motion to adopt, keep it as is?
I'll second. Oh, I thought.
I didn't make a motion, but
I thought Councilman Duncan did, but.
I did.
did you? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to possible action on pending legislation. Besides what the item is, do we have anything else coming down from
a lot coming down. I have nothing else to report on this evening, but certainly there's a lot of conversation about housing and homelessness and at the state level, as you know, but nothing new other than the item before you this evening.
Maybe I can add this. As you may well know, that there was discussion, or maybe not. The Southern California Association of Governments has been allocated $200 million, something like that, 220, to help fund with the COVID-19. And San Bernardino County's share was going to be upwards of $23 million. But through some private conversations and backdoor deals, the County of Los Angeles was going to get all of it, all of that money, and the rest of the counties were going to get zip. Now, the SCAG has, San Bernardino County Transportation Authority has sent 2 letters. And a number of other counties have also sent letters of protest of this unfair treatment. So in the meeting last Thursday at SCAG, we voted to take it off the consent calendar of all places, and it's going to come back again for discussion. I talked to the president of SBCTA, and after talking, we agreed that maybe what we want to do is get all of the cities in San Bernardino County, as well as try to get the ones in Orange County and Ventura and Imperial, get all these cities to write a letter in protest to stop LA County from raiding all those funds for them.
Was that a state decision?
No, it's theirs.
Well, how did they make the decision?
Backdoor deal. The president of SCAG right now is a council member from Long Beach, and he worked his deal out with all of his friends in LA County, Merrick Garcetti and all those other guys, and they decided through their committee that they were going to take all the $200 million and for their use, and none of the other counties were going to get any part of that. It was ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's been called out, and they pulled it off calendar, and we're going to bring it back to discussion. But we need to get together, and I'm working with the president right now, trying to get a form letter, basically, and have all the cities sign it and send it off to Southern California Association of Governments and put pressure on them so we can get, the county and the city can get our fair share of that allocation.
All right, that's good to know. I definitely look into that. You have anything? No? No? Okay. Thanks, David. All right, so that takes us to item number 10. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is HR 127, Sabika Sheik Firearm License and Registration Act. Not often that we bring federal legislation to you here at the city council meeting, but this is so pervasive and such an infringement on all Americans' rights, including Yucaipans. We felt it was appropriate to do so. This bill, in order to obtain a license to possess firearm or even ammunition, an individual must be 21, undergo a criminal background check, undergo a psychological evaluation, successfully complete a 24-hour training course, prove that an insurance policy has been purchased annually at the cost of $800, and the psychological evaluation must be conducted by a psychologist approved by the Attorney General, and would include evaluation of other members of the household in which the individual resides. Also allows for any military or police force to have access to that information provided through this database effort. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have this evening.
All right, are there any questions for staff or comments? Justin, you have something?
No, sir.
No?
Is there anything else we could do besides just send a letter of opposition? I mean, that seems to be a complete overreach. And it seems to be a deliberate effort by the Democrats or whoever this gentleman is, or this whole process to basically take away our rights as a Second Amendment rights. Is there anything else we can do?
As a council, I think this is your best course of action. Beyond that, I'm sure there are things that folks may be able to do as individuals, but I think as a council, this is your best course of action in order to make a statement about this legislation.
Councilmember Beaver, do you have any background on this, this bill?
No more than any other person has access to. This, the information that is given to the federal government as it relates to gun ownership isn't just presented to law enforcement and to the military. This would be made public on public websites, so any member of the public can have access to information about where any other person stores their firearms in their private residence. While if we lived in a perfect world where nobody was committing crimes, that wouldn't be an issue. The fact of the matter is that opens up a lot of information to would-be burglars and people who wish to victimize law-abiding citizens. Everybody sitting on this dais and the majority of the staff of most cities, they do swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California, both of which have specific wording as it relates to firearms and the rights thereof. So although this is not a local matter per se, this most decidedly affects the citizens of Yucaipa as it does the rest of the citizens of our country.
Yes, I agree. A little background on this, I looked it up. Why was it called Sabika Sheikh Firearm Licensing and Registration Act? Apparently, back in 2018, Sabika, who was a Pakistani foreign exchange student in Texas, was a victim along with 9 others in a mass shooting at a high school by one of the students, a junior, at the high school. And as a result, the representative for the area, and I forget what her name is, introduced this act back in 2018, and it died at committee. Right now, it's in the subcommittee of which was the Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security of the House Judiciary Committee, and it's been laying there since I don't know. This was introduced in March 4th. It was moved there, and according to analysts, it has a 3% chance of passing to the president's desk. So while this is probably the second attempt, it's still important enough for us to be aware of things like this that are coming down the pipe, because this is just one of several measures that wish to change the Second Amendment as well as some other amendments. So just so you know what this is about. I had no idea until a couple days ago.
For the record, I did contact the congressman, our local congressman's staff. I didn't get a hold of the congressman himself, and he does oppose this bill, so we're safe on, at least with our congressman. So along with that, is there a motion to approve the opposition letter?
I'll make a motion that we approve the opposition letter.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that takes us to item number 11, the City of Yucaipa 4th of July fireworks show. Is this Megan?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here this evening to ask City Council to review the 2021 4th of July fireworks show options and direct staff as appropriate, and authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Pyro Spectaculars, Inc. in the amount of $35,145, which includes a deposit in the amount of $17,000
$654 to produce a fireworks show, and authorize the city attorney to review the contract to include language for COVID-19. In addition, we are asking City Council to direct staff to include the amount of $35,145 for a fireworks show in the draft fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Since 2012, the city has partnered with the Lions Club or Best Hometown Celebrations to offer a 4th of July event, which included fireworks at the Yucaipa High School. This partnership divided the responsibilities of the event, with the city responsible for the purchase and contractual agreement for the fireworks, the sound, stage, entertainment, and providing in-kind services for staffing for police, fire, public works, and community services. The Lions Club, or Best Hometown Celebration, provided volunteers to work the parking lot as attendants, to take payment for parking, to provide cleanup, and to procure food and merchandise vendors, restrooms, and Burtex services. On page 134 of your staff report of the agenda packet is the list that details out the years past and the financial commitments of the event, as well as the number of days of the event. Currently, the County of San Bernardino is in the purple tier in regards to state guidelines. However, the city of Yucaipa is preparing to reopen and once again offer special events. This evening, staff is seeking council direction and is recommending a few options for the 2021 4th of July event. Option 1 would be that the city of Yucaipa would hold a 4th of July event at Yucaipa High School with only fireworks. Patrons would be allowed to come to the high school. City staff would partner with the Church of Latter-day Saints to take payment for parking, and patrons who come to the event could hang out either on the grass area or wherever they feel comfortable in the school, and they could listen to music that is choreographed with the fireworks. And the revenue received for parking would go to offset the rising costs of fireworks. Option 2 would be to have a 4th of July fireworks show with the help of J.R. Algor. Just JR. This would be continuing the event as we have in years past. And the process for this would be, the next step would be that JR would have to complete a community activity grant. Upon conclusion of the council meeting, JR would also have to submit a wrap-up report for the 2019 community activity grant, which due to COVID, there was some complications, or the grant hadn't been wrapped up from 2019. And funding for, in the community activity grant is where he would request funding for a special event permit and any other ideas or services that he would want for the 4th of July show. The estimated expenditures for this option are in the amount of $46,000, and staff would come back to City Council at a later date with the special event permit, the community activity guide, and the details of the event. I did just want to note that staff spoke with JR prior to the council meeting, and he let them know that he's here to help if we would like help, but that he would need help from additional nonprofit organizations to put on the event at the high school. Option 3 is staff can seek another nonprofit 501c3 to partner with, and city staff would reach out to that nonprofit to see how they would like to proceed with the event and return to council at a later date. No matter which option is chosen tonight, city staff will need to complete permits, the traffic plan, the agreement with pyrospectaculars, sorry about that, and complete a Yucaipa High School fire safety plan. The total cost of firework displays is in the amount of $35,145, plus additional costs for in-kind services for police, fire, public works, and community services departments. I would also like to take this opportunity to remind the public of ordinance number 381, section 56.01.2.3.1, the seizure of fireworks. The city of Yucaipa prohibits the storage, use, and sale and possession of fireworks. And pursuant to Yucaipa Municipal Code, section 15.04.120, violations or failure to comply is a misdemeanor and punishable by a fine not to exceed $1,000. As the 4th of July comes close, staff will post on social media and remind the community of the municipal code. This concludes my report, and I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
All right, are there any questions for staff? I know we have a couple of options to pick from. And if you want to add your own, I think you can do that too. Well, I'll start. I think it's a great event. One thing that everyone was disappointed with last year was the cancellation of the 4th of July. I had so many emails and so many people complaining about that cancellation. So we definitely need to move forward with this. I'd like to see perhaps what we could do is maybe have the city run the event and have JR and the LDS Church help. And then I think that would cure a lot of logistical issues, calling, but if the city were to run it with the help of the two, I think it would be as another option.
So you said that JR and the LDS Church would partner and do the fireworks show? I mean, that's as an option?
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if it's.
Have you?
I know JR's here. I know JR has been the kind of the go-to guy at this point, and then the city has been helping JR. And I don't mind, if that creates a logistical issue, I don't mind that the city, and then with the input of JR and others who want to donate their time. It's just an option, whatever you guys choose.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all, actually, personally, getting JR involved, since he's got all of the native experience with this, but is not a bad call. And maybe JR, you can come up here?
JR, you want to say anything?
He doesn't want to say anything.
Is that JR?
Okay, this is the new look, so,
It looks good.
okay, putting it together, I mean, the way it has been, if we're going to do the music, you know, everything we've done in the past, we can do that. And I mean, my thought was, before we have spoken, Ray and I have, about removing staff from the 4th of July because of the overtime and the cost. And, I can run it with volunteers. And I have no problem with doing that again. Just continue with what we're doing. And basically, staff sets up the stage for me the night before. Scott brings me my spider boxes, and I'll take it over from there. And I have no problem with doing it again. I don't, I'm here for the community. So if you guys want to run it, that's fine.
Well, I honestly am not involved in it, so I want the experts, the guys who have done it before, to tell me what's best. It just seems to me if the city was the lead, you would have access to all city facilities, the stage and everything.
Well,
And then at your request, instead of you.
I've always had staff, Megan, Scott, have always been there. If I needed something, I would call them. They would be there the night day before, but I tried not to bother anybody on that day so we don't have to bring in staff to pay those extra fees. We've only had one issue at the last one, but we addressed that issue with security. So I don't think we have a problem to keep it going the way you want. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to bring staff in, that's fine with me.
Have we addressed that issue with security? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, Ray and I have had conversations, and I think we're pretty well understanding that we have to have a deputy or somebody over there at all times during the show.
Is that confirmed?
Whatever resources are required to properly manage the show, if that includes a deputy there, then that includes a deputy there.
Is this the same company that we had 2 years ago?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, is there any other input from anyone else? David, do you have anything?
Are we going to move forward? I mean, like right now, we're sitting here, and we did last meeting, we planned a music and arts festival. Are we going to take the lead in the state and move forward regardless of what goes on? Because everybody's getting vaccinated and everything seems to be moving in the right direction, but you can't trust this government in California to save your life. And are we going to move forward with this and plan this and do it for sure?
We are moving forward with it. In fact, we would ask when you, whoever would make the motion, that you would include as amended, because as you heard Ms. Wolf mention a minute ago, we would like authorization for the agreement to include language about the COVID-19 guidelines and the ability to move the show if we have to, but we are moving forward as though the 4th of July is going to happen like it has in the past.
I think as far as the social distancing, I can move the vendors back further so we have more open field, so we can keep the safe distance that we need. And then staff would have to, Megan is always more cooperative in getting us a band of some sort, and that's what the city's already done. Take care of the sound, take care of the sound and the band, and then that's it. Everything else should go pretty smooth like they always had. Now, I think the community wants it. My phone was blowing up last year, about the 4th of July, but, it is what it is. But I think it's time for us as a city to step up, open it up, and let's do it.
I have a question as it relates to the cost differences between option 1 and option 2. Option 2 appears to be $6,000 more than option 1. I'd like to know why.
Those are the approximate estimates for band and production.
Okay.
So if the city were to run it, we're not having a band, is that what I understand?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, there's other options if you guys want to bring another option to the table, which is that the city takes the lead, but we do include JR in the planning and listen to, the history of what has been there.
Yeah.
The option that's in the staff report this evening is recommending that we move forward with a fireworks show where we do not have live entertainment. What we would just have the entertainment on speakers that are set up throughout the Yucaipa High School. And the fireworks company plays music on I forgot, Cola or one of the radio stations. And so we would be playing that music that evening, and people would be able to come in, bring their own food, and kind of have their own little event.
So there would be no stage?
No, there would be no stage.
All right, any other comments or questions?
In the event that we decide to move forward with this and there's another lockdown, is there any recourse on the money that we'd have to shell out for the fireworks and all the vendors?
And that's the request this evening, to give the city manager, the city attorney, some flexibility in the agreement and creating language to that effect. As JR mentioned, I don't believe that the fireworks show itself, by itself, is much of an issue. We think that that is clearly going to be allowed. It's just how the attendance at the event would be treated. And obviously, under the current guidelines, that it wouldn't be a show like we have seen in 2019 or before. but we are optimistic that we'll continue to go in the right direction, and things will open up more and more as we get closer to the 4th of July. But the fireworks show itself, we're pretty confident that we could have. It's just how the attendance works.
My proposal would be then, at this point, would be actually to let, just because of the whole COVID situation and all the, I don't know, we don't know if it's truly going to happen. I think it will. But if we were to allow the city to take the lead with JR's help, and then we can add things when we know we become more secure about that it's going to take place, we could perhaps add bands or so forth as the time goes by. Unless someone has something else.
So is that option 2?
That's option 1, I think. Or is it, it's a
It's
combination, really?
option 1
with-
amended.
Yeah,
I second what the mayor just said.
yeah, I don't think that's a bad call. And just, I believe the state is opening up. We can, I think the theme parks are opening up and the baseball fields are opening up. So I agree with staff. I don't see any reason why we couldn't have a fireworks show. And I believe maybe some social distancing might be required, but if they're going to put people in stadiums, I certainly cannot believe that they would prohibit us from putting people in our own stands to watch a fireworks show. We're moving that way, and I forgot to look how close we were getting to the purple, but I think we're kind of getting close, aren't we?
We're very close, and it's
Yeah.
getting from purple to
So
red.
I
We're
think
very
by
close.
July, we should be in that purple and not have any issues. So I agree with you, and
But keep the option open that we add entertainment or whatever as needed. I don't know where we'll be at that
sure,
time.
I
so-
think, yeah, this is a good time to be rigidly flexible.
Where does that leave you,
a
Mr.
good one.
Algauer?
You know, I think that Mr. Casey touched on it. The fireworks are not gonna bring the people inside the stadium just to watch the fireworks. They're gonna go from around. A lot of people come to lay on the grass, enjoy the day with their family, and they watch fireworks from the grass area. Of course, we have the band for entertainment, and I think that's part of the draw.
Well, I think that's the end goal. That's what I hope that we can get there. But who knows with the state of California, who knows what obstacle they're gonna put in front of us. So we have a motion and a second? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And it's for the city, JR, and COVID-19 guidelines to amend it. You still want to make that amendment?
Yeah, if you may, if,
That was in my motion.
right.
Well, we got to make sure Mr. Algauer is good with that, because we're voting to put him into something that I want to make sure he's good with, because that may not be the case at all.
Well, I'm okay with it. I think we need the band and music, but I'm okay with what you come in with. But up to that point, Megan can work with me and staff to get everything in place that I need. So on the actual day, I don't need to burn up, Yucaipa's money by staffing people. I think as long as I have a deputy there for the security for the fireworks company, because they have a big concern about that. Other than that, I think we can go with what we've done in the past, and it's always worked. I mean, if it works, why fix it?
Well, I think that's kind of what the motion was. That's kind of our end goal. That's what we're shooting for, but because of the COVID restrictions, we don't know where we're at. So that it really is in my motion, what you just said, so. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
All right, so 4-1. All right, so that takes us to item number 12. This is Landon.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of council. This item before you is for the award of contract for the 12th and 13th Streets Safe Routes to School Sidewalk Project, project number 10878. If we go to the first slide, I can show you the area that these improvements are proposed in. The project is for the construction of sidewalk improvements, ADA compliant curb ramps, some minor drainage improvements to facilitate the street improvements that go along with these sidewalk improvements. And the location of these improvements are the area here down in the bottom part of the slide in red. It is on the west side of 12th Street from Avenue E to Kentucky, and along the east side of 13th Street from Avenue E to Oakland Road. As you can see, the larger Dunlap area here around the Dunlap Elementary School has several other projects that are primarily grant funded, achieving the same goal of improving the access for not only Dunlap Elementary School, but Yucaipa High School as well, improving the access along these school zone corridors, going north and south and also east and west. And I'll just point out here also the other contract that was awarded recently here along Avenue E and up 15th Street is going to be beginning in construction here in several weeks as well, and adjacent to this project. For this project and this contract, the staff advertised for construction bids, and we received 8 bids. Of those 8 bids, 3 Peaks was the apparent low bidder. We have reviewed those bid results and determined that that bid meets the specifications for the project and are consistent with the current market bid prices. 3 Peaks Corporation has successfully completed other similar projects for the city, and their work has been deemed satisfactory. They just so happen to be the contractor who was awarded this contract here in this part of town as well. In 2011, the city applied for and was awarded $508,600 in federal Safe Routes to School funds for this project. After the bids were received and evaluated, an additional request for these same grant funds was submitted to Caltrans and subsequently was awarded those additional funds in the amount of $232,235. So you'll see that number as the proposed amendment to the CIP to reflect that new award of those grant funds for this project. The next slide shows the proposed funding sources for this project with the available funding in the amount of $1,188,835. About 82% are grant or AQMD funding, and the remaining 18% is the traffic safety fund, which is basically the revenues coming in from vehicle fines. With that, staff is recommending award of the construction contract to 3 Peaks Corporation with the construction budget as summarized in the report recommendations, along with the proposed amendment to the CIP to allocate the additional grant funding for the project. So with that, staff recommends council approve items 1 through 4 in the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, so are there any questions for staff?
I have one. Going back to the previous slide, in the square to the southeast of Yucaipa High School, I can't read that, but is that?
Oh, right here?
Yes.
This is a project that was completed recently with the state Safe Routes to School funded improvements. So the sidewalk improvements in blue were completed, improving that access directly to Dunlap Elementary School. So some of these other projects are essentially closing the gap that exists between those improved sections and the unimproved sections.
Okay, didn't we last year, or maybe 18 months ago, approve a housing development around Dunlap Elementary School, and part of the letter of conditions was to provide a sidewalk to the school? Wasn't that part of the deal? And are we going to get reimbursed for putting in those sidewalks?
The project that was approved was on Avenue D, between the 2 blue lines there. It was midway between 12th and 13th, and that project was
just north of the school, because that was one of the features about, it was kind of a condominium project, right? The little single-story condominium project. And part of the features was that the kids could walk to school, and they were going to provide a sidewalk to Dunlap. And
Yes.
it looks like we've already done that, is that?
No, the conditions of approval for that project was for them to complete the sidewalk along Avenue D and also connect that sidewalk to the east to 12th Street.
Oh, so it didn't include the one that's on the right of Dunlap Elementary?
No, it was going to connect to that project, but it did not include those improvements.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarification.
Yeah, I think what you're talking, I know what you're talking about. I don't think we approved the parcel along 12th Street. If you recall, there were two parcels that were under discussion for a rezone. And we did approve it for the one on D, but not on 12th, if I recall.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
yeah, I don't remember. It's getting more muddled now.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? John, do you have anything? Bob?
Yeah, that project was approved on E and 12, but that project's not going forward, is it?
I do
Isn't there
know
a
it was
squabble over who owns part piece and two pieces or something like that?
It was approved a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Track, we approved the track map.
Right.
So is Councilmember Avila saying that we should get reimbursed when that project goes? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't
I think I'm sorry if I may, I think that project did stall out. There wouldn't be an opportunity or an option to reimburse the city for grant funds regardless, but I think Fermin mentioned accurately that the conditions of approval were for Avenue D connecting those two projects.
So it's not an issue.
Okay.
My mistake.
Dustin, you have anything?
Nothing, sir.
Okay. All right. Is this also one of those DSA projects? I know we had this discussion before. Does this have to go through DSA?
I don't believe so. No.
No,
Okay.
this one did not.
Just
but
out of
the
curiosity.
The one in
project-
yellow was
That was part of DSA?
the ATP funding for that.
Okay. All right, so with that, is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Moving on to item number 13. Is this for me?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. This item is a right-of-way acquisition for the County Line Road Corridor Project. As you're aware, this project, the County Line Road Corridor Project, will improve County Line Road between Bryant Street and Calamasa Boulevard. You've seen this exhibit before, which shows those proposed improvements. Again, the County Line Road Corridor Project extends from Bryant Street here on the bottom right, extends to the east and just short of Calamasa Boulevard. The project does not include the interchange improvements or the intersection improvements at County Line Road and Calamasa Boulevard, but it does include the roundabout intersection improvements at Bryant, California, 2nd and 3rd. And again, the purpose of this project is to address the increase in traffic, primarily during the peak commuting hours in the evening and in the morning. To construct the project, right away from 17 properties is required. To date, staff has been able to reach an agreement with 15 of those property owners. If you recall, City Council adopted a resolution of necessity in December for 5 properties, and that was to initiate the eminent domain proceedings. Those 5 properties are identified in the circles here in red. Since that meeting, 3 of the 5 property owners have contacted the city, and we've been able to reach an agreement with those property owners. The purchase and sale agreements before you tonight are for 2 of those 3 properties. The right-of-way associated with these 2 agreements is required for the roundabout intersection improvements at 5th Street and County Line Road. The first purchase and sale agreement is for a 9,079 square foot permanent easement from the Stark Family Trust, and that's located on the southwest corner. The second agreement is for a 1,330 square foot permanent easement from the Lanza and Zern families, and that is in the amount of $20,525. The amount for the easement in the first purchase and sale agreement is in the amount of $114,000. Those two amounts are consistent with the appraisal that was reviewed and approved by City Council at a previous meeting. Staff is recommending that City Council approve the two purchase and sale agreements and also approve an expenditure of up to $6,000 for escrow and closing costs, and also an expenditure in the amount of $5,000 for administration and staff time to complete the process for a total cost of $145,525. The County Line Road Corridor project is included in the approved 2021 capital improvement program. The funding amounts on the screen before you are the funding sources that are included in the capital improvement program. And as you can see, the majority of the funding is grant funding. There is a very minimal amount of general fund monies associated with this project, and that would be about 40% of the $200,000 in this pavement management program funding source line item. So with that, that concludes my report. Staff recommends that City Council approve the recommendations as listed on the agenda report for this item, and staff is available for any questions you may have.
All right, so are there any questions for staff? No, no. All right, you have something? No. Is there a motion to accept items 1 through 4?
I make a motion that we approve this item.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to item 14. Is this Mary?
Good evening, Mayor Bogue and council members. I am here this evening to present the activities and layout of the 2021 Yucaipa Music and Arts Festival. YMAF will be held on May 7th and 8th in the historic Uptown. This event would not be possible without the support of local organizations who take on the management of activities and share revenues to help offset event expenditures. The proposed activities and partners for the event are food and merchandise vendors managed by the Yucaipa Chamber of Commerce, flower show managed by resident Deb Henderson, the Beer and Wine Garden operated by the Knights of Columbus, art displays, vendors, and children's activities managed by Vision Quest, the Gem and Mineral Show operated by the Gem and Mineral Society, and the Kids Zone managed by the city with the support of the Rotary Club. Page 2 and 3 of the staff report and page 242 and 243 of the agenda packet detail the proposed revenue share between each organization and the city. If approved this evening, all organizations will enter a letter of understanding with the city of Yucaipa. If I may bring your attention to the screen, we can review the proposed layout of the event. This map can also be found on attachment A, which is page 246 of the packet. Starting at the top, let's see here. Oh, my laser pointer is not, oh, there, wait, there it goes. The red box here is our food vendors that will line California Street. Right next to that would be, of course, our Performing Arts Center that would host the live entertainment. And adjacent to that would be our beer garden in the light blue box. Moving our way left on the map, I'm going to start over here with the Kids Zone. The Kids Zone would be down First Street between Yucaipa Boulevard and Avenue A. Then moving left to right, we have some food vendors here on the end and merchandise vendors that would line the boulevard west to east, all the way up to Adams Street. Back to the California Street roundabout, we would have our info booth as well as our Cal Fire booth. And then moving south on California Street, we have additional merchandise and food vendors. We have a section open here for some lounge area because right at the bottom of our map, we have our another second stage, blue stage here. All throughout the event, we have various restrooms located so that people can have access to those. And that concludes the map. One of the proposed differences in this year's layout would be the location of the vendors. I don't know if you can notice on the map, it is kind of hard to see because this is to scale. The vendors would be located in the middle of the street instead of in parking stalls, which is historically what we've done. And this change in layout will help us improve visibility and access to uptown businesses and storefronts, which is an express concern that the uptown businesses have had in the past. So now people will be able to walk along the vendor booths maybe on their left and view businesses on their right. On March 1st, staff met with the board of the Uptown Association, and they also approved this proposed layout. The signature of approval is seen in attachment B, which is page 247 of the packet. The fiscal year 2020-2021 adopted budget includes estimates for YMAF revenues in the amount of $56,000 and expenses in the amount of $125,000 for a net impact to the general fund equal to the amount of $69,000. This concludes my report, and staff is available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, so are there any questions or comments for staff?
Whose idea was it to put the vendors in the center of the street?
It was a joint team idea, but we did get those concerns from the uptown businesses that the vendors being in the parking stalls was blocking the storefronts, and this has been an ongoing issue even with our market nights and our other festivals as well.
A great idea. That's a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
I agree, it's a good idea. You have anything? Good?
No, I'm good.
Go ahead.
No, nothing for me.
You're good.
Are we not having a small carnival because of COVID-19, or are we just eliminating that going forward from the agenda or from the itinerary?
Because we changed the event from a 3-day event to a 2-day event, it wouldn't allow enough time for a carnival to be successful, as well as the layout is smaller and just other factors as well.
Okay, so is everyone good with the layout and the proposal?
Yes, I am.
Is there a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mary. Good job.
All right, so I am going to temporarily close city council and leave it up to Councilmember Thorpe.
Okay, we'll convene the Housing Authority meeting now. Item number 1, approve the Housing Authority minutes from December 14th.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Avila, second by Bieber. Item number 2 is going to be a joint,
Can I get a
You
motion?
got to
or
take the vote.
sorry,
A vote.
I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now item number 2. It's a joint meeting with the city council.
Well, I have to, let me reopen. Are you good with that vote? Jennifer, were you okay with that? I think, was it 5-0?
Yeah, I saw no members opposing.
Okay. I believe I reopened city council meeting.
Correct.
Is that? Okay. So now it's joint.
Okay, so moving on to number 2. You have a presentation?
Yes. Good evening, members of the Yucaipa Housing Authority and Mayor Bogue and City Council members. For your consideration this evening is the termination of the exclusive negotiating agreement, or ENA, with Eagle Yucaipa 55 LLC. As you may recall, the city approved the ENA with Eagle on May 27, 2020, to negotiate the potential purchase of city-owned property located at the southeast corner of Oakland Road and Avenue E. After the ENA was approved, staff and Eagle engaged in negotiations, and Eagle conducted various feasibility and due diligence analysis pertaining to the subject property. Though the city and Eagle have enjoyed a productive working relationship, Eagle has expressed their desire to formally terminate the ENA. In response to Eagle's termination, staff has prepared a letter to send to Eagle confirming the termination and also requesting that Eagle confirm for record. It is important to note that the termination of the ENA is mutual between both the city and Eagle. There is no fiscal impact as a result of this item. With that, staff recommends that the City Council and Housing Authority Board confirm the termination of the ENA between the city and Eagle and authorize the city manager and executive director to take necessary actions to effectuate the termination of the ENA. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions?
None.
I'll move on behalf of the Housing Authority.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
You have to go to adjourn now, or you have to do yours? Any opposed, sorry.
No, but is there a motion on behalf of the City Council?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, with that, we will adjourn the Housing Authority meeting.
All right, so that's going to take us to a public hearing. Item 15, is this Caroline?
Yes.
Let me do this in order here. I'll try. I'll open the public hearing, and then now we'll hear staff presentation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Once again, good evening, Mayor Bogue and City Council members. For your consideration this evening is the submittal of the prioritization of recommended projects utilizing CDBG CV3 funds. Under the third round of funding for the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus, also known as CDBG CV3, the City of Yucaipa has been allocated $210,786 by the County of San Bernardino. As a cooperative city, the city applies for CDBG funds through the county. As you may recall, staff is proposing to develop, implement, and administer a mortgage and rental assistance program for Yucaipa residents utilizing the grant funding, which was approved by City Council at the January 25th City Council meeting. In addition to the application that was submitted by staff following the City Council's approval of the project, another step in the grant application process is the city's submittal of the prioritization of recommended projects form before you, which is included in your agenda packet, to the county, which affirms the city's project to be funded by CDBG CV3. The form states the city's allocated amount and accounts for any anticipated unused funds from the CV1 Small Business Loan to Grant Program that, if available, may be applied to the Mortgage and Rental Assistance Program. If approved, the city will have at least $210,786 to implement the proposed rental and mortgage assistance program. The next steps with the county include the Board of Supervisors' consideration of all projects proposed by cooperating cities, including review of the prioritization of funding forms. There is no fiscal impact to the general fund as a result of this item. As mentioned at the January 25th City Council meeting, when the Mortgage and Rental Assistance Program was approved, staff would initiate the project funding through an amendment in the FY 2020-2021 annual budget in the CDBG fund to include an allocation of revenue and expenditures in the amount that is allocated to the city. Any unused CV1 funds would also be added to the budget for this program, and as is typical with CDBG funding, the city would request reimbursement from the county after implementation. Staff recommends that the City Council conduct a public hearing followed by the authorization of the city for the city manager or their designee to execute the cooperating city recommended projects form to the county for CDBG CV3 funding consideration. That concludes my report. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
All right, are there any questions for staff?
Not a question as much as a comment. I'm glad to see this is happening. I think there was some confusion by members of the community as it relates to the decision of this council, as it relates to making sure this money is available for residents for both rental and mortgage assistance. I think, and admittedly, listening to the January 25th audio, I was present and I was confused. So I'm glad that this is coming back before the council to clarify. I absolutely support residential support for our citizens. So thank you.
All right.
Do we have funds left over from the first round where we were giving out funds to, or helping out the businesses?
Yes, we did have funds from the first round, which is why, with council approval, we were able to do a second round of the loan to grant program. That application period recently closed on Friday, and so our consultants are evaluating who's approved for the second round of funding.
And we're going to have an application process for families that need help with their rent or their mortgage?
Correct.
That's a fantastic idea.
Anyone on this side?
I have a question. On page 254 of the agenda packet, it says activity total at the bottom right is 260,000. But then at the very bottom of the form, it says total amount available is 210,000. So there's a difference of 50,000. You probably covered it, I just probably didn't understand it. So could you explain that to me again?
Yeah, so just to clarify, the amount that's been allocated to the city is the 786,000. However, 50,000 is anticipated to be unused from the CDBG CV1 loan to grant program. And in working with county staff, I was instructed on that's how to fill out the form, is go ahead and put any unused amounts that you think you may have from the loan to grant program into that form.
Okay, thank you.
David, do you have something?
No,
Okay.
I'm all for this.
Okay, so I don't have any public comment, so we are the applicant, and I will close the public hearing and open it up for council. Are we good?
I think this is a great idea. I'd like to move to approve this.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so 5-0. Thank you. All right, so that's takes us to announcements. Are there any announcements from any council members?
Aye.
I just hope we can move forward with our planned events. City of Yucaipa, everyone needs something going on right now. We need to move this forward if we can.
I absolutely agree. Justin, you have something? No? David?
Good.
John, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so that does take us to closed session. What do we have on closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We have one item on the agenda this evening. It's Conference with Real Property Negotiator regarding portion of APN 0303-253-41, the property located west of the Uptown Park. City's negotiator is Mr. Casey, and the negotiating parties, City of Yucaipa. Under consideration are price and terms of payment.
All right.
We don't expect reportable action this evening.
All right, thank you much. And with that, we will now close the city council meeting.